Welcome back to the West Ham fans Premier League Roundup. This is the series where, obviously, I'm a West Ham fan and I round up the Premier League. Because it was Monday Night Football, the series is usually on Mondays, but it's coming out on Tuesday because there was a game yesterday. Game week 2 review. What has happened? There's been 5 red cards. There has been, 5 red cards throughout this whole game week. And a couple of them were stupid. Luton and Burnley obviously didn't play this week because Luton's home ground is not ready still. So that didn't happen. But I think that was meant to be the early game, the 12 o'clock kickoff. I could be wrong. Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield United. That was the Friday game. And Sheffield United, I know everyone said this, but they look gone already, and it's only 2 games in. And the reason why I just don't have any hope for them is because I don't know where the points are coming from. Like, maybe they'll do the double over Luton. Maybe they'll beat us at their ground. But I can't see them beating anyone else. Maybe they'll get a shock. Maybe from like a Fulham or something. But it's a similar formation to when Chris Wilder was still at the club. Nothing's really changed. You've lost players. I guess that's changed. You've lost some of your best players. And I don't know, surely there's new signings coming in. Sure, there has to be. Surely there's some defenders, maybe. You got Gustavo Hamer. Maybe he's the Berger replacement. But speaking of Gustavo Hamer, scored a brilliant goal against Nottingham Forest. He equalised. According to people online, Forest started really well. Then they kind of just lost momentum when Sheffield United scored, and then obviously Chris Wood scored right at the end. And Nottingham Forest, they actually played quite well against Arsenal in the last 10 minutes, 20 minutes where they had Elanga coming on, and maybe Elanga could have a good season for Nottingham Forest. Hopefully they'll play him against Manchester United that they have at Old Trafford. And the way Manchester United are playing, who we'll get onto later, you'd think maybe they could get something out of them. Because Man United have been terrible. They were terrible against Wolves and they were terrible against Tottenham. Liverpool-Bournemouth was one of the games with the first red cards. 2 major decisions in this game by referees that were wrong. It was the penalty and the red card. The McAllister red card was fucking ridiculous. I don't know what it's meant to do. And I've never seen that given as a red before. I don't think, from what I can remember. And with the Szoboszlai thing, from no matter how you can try and dress it up as much as you want, as much as I've seen them given, it's not a foul. It's soft. And the point is, if that did happen the other way around, that wouldn't have been given. So it is what it is. And I thought referees were gonna stop giving soft penalties, but maybe I didn't hear that. Maybe that never existed, because I feel like every year they try and let the game go on. Because if that's a penalty, the Eze one is a penalty as well. But guess what? Neither of them should be penalties. So there's an inconsistency. And that's the point. Crystal Palace didn't get theirs against Arsenal, and Liverpool got theirs against Bournemouth. What's the common denominator here? The Big 6 team got it. It's not hard to figure out, guys. But yeah, speaking of Szoboszlai, from what I saw of the highlights, he played really well. I didn't watch this game. I watched a different 3 o'clock game. But Szoboszlai could probably hit the ground running if he's going to keep up performances like that, from what people are saying. And Liverpool have started a bit in this window, especially with the defensive midfield area, and they need one more defensive midfielder. And then they have a decent midfield to go off. You have Curtis Jones, I know he's injured, but he'll be back. McAllister, Szoboszlai. You got the Wataru Endo guy who, let's say they get another defensive midfielder, he could be the backup, which is not bad, is it? And you've got Thiago, who's still there. You've got Harvey Elliott, that's still there. So that wouldn't look so bad with another defensive midfielder, but they've also got Bajcetic coming back from injury as well. I don't know when he's coming back, but a good youngster. So let's see let's see how Liverpool fare out with this. But if you actually look, it's the same three people that got goals again. No new people. It was their front three. Obviously, Salah got a penalty. Jota and Diaz. Luis Diaz is going to have a fucking great season. The guy's coming back from his injury. He's going to show people that he's back, pretty much. And they fucked up a bit right at the start, Liverpool, with the goal with Antoine Semenyo scoring. And as soon as I saw Liverpool go 1-0 down at Anfield, I'm like, well, they're going to win, aren't they? It's Anfield. I know they lost against Leeds last year, but that's a one-off. I can't believe they lost to Leeds. But Bournemouth, from what people are saying, they didn't even play that bad. And it's going to be hard for Bournemouth because of their first few games. But Iriola wants to play good football. And listen, maybe we'll see a better Bournemouth against Tottenham, which is going to be a hard fixture for them, but they are at their ground. Wolves-Brighton, another game with a red card. Brighton beat Wolves 4-1. Wolves' red card was justified. Mateus Nunes pushing people over and stuff for their second yellow. He got absolutely rattled, but now he's out for the next game, which is against Everton, which is going to be a crucial game. Seeing how both teams played, both teams conceded 4 goals. And either of them could put them all in the fucking net. That could either be a really fucking shit game or a really, really good game. But I will be there no matter what. And the goals, Mitoma, Solly March got 2 again. If Solly March has another great season, he should be trying to push for the preliminary England squad if there is one. There's actually Euros at the end of the season, so we'll see. We'll see if Solly March can carry on, because he's quite underrated, Solly March, but De Zerbi's brought the best out of him. Mitoma again, that was a great run from him, but he finished. He needs to really improve on his end product as well. If he can score more goals, because he's got a strike on him, a bit more output, then that would improve him as a player. Because I don't go off goals and assists when I'm watching a player perform all the time, but goals and assists are important to an extent because obviously you want to score goals. But also, you can't just be one of these guys that just run past and take on people and not finish, because there's a lot of that in the Premier League and a lot of that in football in general. And if we're looking at the lineups, Craig Dawson didn't seem to have a good game for what people are saying. He got taken off. But Gary O'Neill, you might need to just change it to your style of play instead of going Lopetegui's formation. But obviously they started Danny Welbeck, even though João Pedro and Evan Ferguson played so well against Luton. Danny Welbeck still got to start because De Zerbi is like trying to ease in young players. But you will see the best of João Pedro and Evan Ferguson this season, I'm sure of it. But Wolves are also in trouble, man. Like I don't know what's going on. Is it FFP with their signings? Because you need way more signings. Bringing back Doherty back is not going to fucking solve anything. And they could be gone as well. And I would like to revise my Premier League predictions, honestly. And I'm going to do that. But when this window ends, I'm going to change my predictions because I'm not having this. But listen, Wolves got a red card as well, and Mateus Nunes deserved it. You can't lose your heads in these kind of games as well. Especially when your team's pretty much in trouble before the fucking season has started. There's not really much optimism in general at Molineux right now. The West London derby, Fulham versus Brentford. Fulham got a red card, and I don't think they should have got a red card. I can't even remember. I watched the game, but I can't remember whether it was a straight red or... No, it was a second yellow. I don't think that was a penalty, in my opinion, but they would have lost anyway. Because they were 2-0 down. Then again, no, 2-0 down with 11 men. They could have brought it back to 2-2, but I doubt it. For the first goal, Issa Diop, obviously former West Ham player, gave away the ball when Wissa just went round and just slotted it in. And I literally said to someone I was watching the game with, Issa Diop will give away the ball for a Brentford goal. It was just that type of game. And it happened. And good news for Fulham that João Paulinho came on from the bench. And Willian is still at the club. They're going to need them because having Lukic and Harrison Reed as your pivot might not work. I can't tell whether Fulham are good enough to go into the season, man, go for mid-table again. I can't tell if they're going to battle for relegation. I don't think they will, but yeah, man. But Brentford, again, playing really well without Ivan Toney, because guess what I said in my Premier League preview show? Brentford are not a one-man team. They can switch it up. They can play on the floor. And pretty much Brentford just sat in their defensive shape and said, come and break us down, Fulham. The first half was really, really dead. And the second half was actually really good. There was many a Brentford domination session. And to get beat in your own ground by your local rivals, yeah, it's not good. It's not a good look for Fulham. But yeah, another red card, and I don't think it was. I don't think it was justified. It was they barely got touched in the box. That wasn't a penalty for me. Tottenham 2, Man United 0. I think it was quite obvious that Tottenham was going to win this game. I know Tottenham don't have a good record, but come on. Did you see the way Man United performed against Wolves? If you saw the way Tottenham played against Brentford and the way Man United played against Wolves, despite Man United winning and Tottenham drawing, Tottenham were away to Brentford. Man United were at Old Trafford. Man United had no excuse not to win that game. Going away to Brentford is one of the hardest fixtures of the season. Like, away to Brentford is hard. Like they don't lose there many times. They've made it a fortress, and it was Ange Postecoglou's first game, and it was a couple of days after the whole Harry Kane thing, which would have been a little bit distracted at least. The only thing you can say about Tottenham is that their front three is not it, and there was a Lisandro Martinez own goal and a Pape Matar goal, both in the second half. It was a very end-to-end game in general, but that front three is not going to work this season. Despite Kulusevski doing well for the goal, Kim, Richarlison and Son are not going to work as an Ange Postecoglou front three. I know it's kind of a 4-2-3-1, kind of a 4-3-3. I think Ange Postecoglou, his tactics are class. I watched Celtic when they play in Old Firm derby. Is it derby? It's not really a derby, is it? I don't even know. I should have done my research on that. I think it might be Glasgow derby. I could be wrong though. Don't kill me. But I remember watching them in the Old Firm game, and every time they would just pop the ball around like it was nothing. And I'm just thinking, if this guy comes to the Premier League, could he do it? And he's fucking doing it. I know it's 2 games in, but Tottenham have needed this for a while. Tottenham have needed a manager that can play good football. Instead of the fucking horrid shit that we've seen under Conte. As a neutral, Tottenham were fucking stinky to watch, probably one of the worst teams to watch. And that's coming from me, a West Ham fan, that has to watch David Moyes football every week. But at least we won yesterday, or 2 days ago. But listen, Vicario stepped up in that game, played really well, pulled off a couple crucial saves. Christian Romero, very good blocks. He played really, really well. Probably one of his better games in general. Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie, they were crucial to how Tottenham played in that game. And it was actually harsh to probably drop Emerson Royale after his performance against Brentford. I know he got ripped a couple of times by Rico Henry, but he didn't play that bad. And Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie, like, they stepped up. I think in future games, though, you're going to struggle with Pedro Porro inverting into midfield and Pedro Porro in 1v1 situations against attackers. But Destiny Udogie is the guy, man. He's the guy. Pape Matar came in for Oliver Skip and showed why he should be starting over Oliver Skip. Just a decent player. He'll improve over time with great coaching as well. And he arrived late into the box. The ball bounced around for a bit after the cross, and yeah, he was there for the finish, man. You got to be there. And Basuma Madison had a fucking masterclass. Had an absolute masterclass. These were 2 players that one player Conte didn't want, and one Conte didn't play. And these 2 were the best players, some of the best players in the Premier League before they joined Tottenham. So when you get an attacking manager and you play them both together, it's an unreal midfield. The fact that they've got them both I think teams should be scared. Everyone wanted Basuma Madison at their club, and if you would say and if you didn't, you're lying. You're lying, or you don't know ball. It's simple. But I think Tottenham's worries will be the front three because we all know how good Son is, but as a touchline winger, are you really good enough anymore? We saw what happened when Perisic came on, an instant impact. So they've got Manuel Solomon as well. Richarlison stinks. I'm sorry, Richarlison just stinks. He just stinks. To be fair, wasn't enough service into him, but he does just stink as a striker. He just stinks as a player in general. I'm sorry, like, he turned up really well for Everton and relegation battles and getting double figures, but he's just not good enough for Tottenham. He's not good enough. It's simple. He's just not good enough. So he can moan all he wants with his frown face, but he's not gonna score many goals. And Kulusevski just doesn't suit the system. But that deal was made permanent, so they can't really do anything about him. And then again, the only 2 games in. Let's talk about Manchester United. And they lined up with the exact same team that they played against Wolves when they got ripped apart. I think questions need to be asked of Erik ten Hag. Questions need to be asked. Now, as a neutral, I was thinking, when a Dutch manager comes into the Premier League, I'm thinking I'm going to see Dutch football. I'm going to see Dutch football popping it around, give him a season, cool. You went a bit pragmatic, won a trophy, all of that. De Gea's gone on the other end, okay, better distribution. But Mason Mount, was that the profile midfielder that you really needed? To try Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro? Why didn't you just get Amrabat instead of Mount? Why didn't you just get, it's just someone else? You played Jadon Sancho in your pre-season as a false nine. But you decided to go with Rashford up front, who can't play up front, and Garnacho, who is just not good enough for first-team football to start in first-team football. Cool off the bench. Off the bench, cool. But you've thrown him... He's had a few appearances last season, and he's just not good enough to start. He's never been good when he started for Manchester United. Like, this guy's a last 20 minutes kind of guy. And Anthony, Jesus Christ. I gave him a season. I didn't even criticise him once last season because I give people a season. But you've had your Premier League season. This stinks. This fucking stinks. Like, you don't even cut in that much. And when you do cut in, you just shoot from long range and you've kind of lost your shooting power. You're just shooting accuracy. You're not good at taking people on. You're not even suited to this kind of football. And if this manager wasn't such a pussy, and then change from Dutch football to counter-attacking football straight away, I reckon we would have seen a better Man United. But when your when your plan B is playing Marcus Rashford up front instead of on the wing, and not Martial when he's actually fit, not when Sancho is actually like played well in a false nine in pre-season, then you're in trouble. And I think anyone with eyes knew that Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro wasn't going to work together. And you're allowing Casemiro to be isolated, number one. And also last season, you guys might remember, sometimes even Eriksen would sit off a bit for Casemiro to make a late run into the box from a DM position. He can't do that anymore because he's got Mason Mount next to him. And Mason Mount, he wants to make him a well-rounded midfielder, but when has he ever been well-rounded? When has he ever been well-rounded? The guy is not good enough. He's just not good enough. He was overrated when he was at Chelsea, and he's not good enough for Man United. Speaking of overrated, Bruno Fernandes had a good first half, but then completely stunk out in the second half. You can see the difference between two creators on different teams here. Maddison can slow the game down, he can speed the game up, he can deliver with both feet. Better final ball, even though that's Bruno Fernandes' strength. They can both take free kicks. Maddison's better at free kicks. Maddison, I would even argue Maddison's a better finisher. And Bruno Fernandes, and James Maddison, when they get put out on the wing, now this is how you know when someone's technically sound, a technically good player. When Maddison got put on the wing for Leicester, or when he's drifting out to different areas, he doesn't just long ball it for the sake of it because he's got no options. He can slow the game down or he can switch it up. When Bruno Fernandes is getting put on the right-hand side, this guy, every time he gets the ball, just pings it to the other side of the pitch for no reason. For no reason. The guy doesn't like the ball. The guy, it's like the ball is on fire. I need to get rid of the ball because it's about to burn my foot off. That's how he plays football. And listen, and speaking of more overrated, Luke Shaw, the guy, he was getting done in by Kulusevski. And Kulusevski wasn't even playing good. It was just that Kulusevski was getting in behind all the time. Luke Shaw has never been good enough to be a regular starter for Manchester United week in, week out. He'll give you a season, he's only had really 2 good seasons, you could even argue. One of them was with no fans. And the other one was last year. The guy's not good enough. He's never been good enough. And I don't know what you're actually buying Onana for with his distribution if you're going to play this long ball football, which it was actually disgusting. Some of the football Man United were playing, it was worse than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer ball. And Man United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is genuinely one of the worst teams I've ever watched. As on the eye, it's one of the worst teams on the eye. People will talk about Mourinho, Conte, and all this. Yeah, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer football was so bad because there was nothing. It wasn't any style of play. And listen, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, you're a great defender, mate, but come on, man, you're not good enough going forward. It's simple. But that's Man United for you. And the question needs to be asked about Erik ten Hag. If he carries on with that same midfield, he's going to cost his own job, and Man United will be back to square one like they always are. Man City Newcastle, a Phil Foden masterclass. Absolute masterclass from Phil Foden. And the guy was playing inside, played in midfield. He had a stinker against Sevilla. I watched the Sevilla game, he didn't play good. And maybe Newcastle could have been a banana skin. But at the end of the day, it wasn't. And Pep switched it up again. He told Akanji step up for centre-back in midfield. Gavardio cut in a bit. And also, Kyle Walker hugged the touchline so Foden could cut in. And that's exactly... it just worked. It just worked. Everything Pep did in that game, it just worked. De Bruyne's out, it doesn't matter. Foden was having the best game in a while. And people keep doubting the guy. And people keep forgetting what the guy is like. People keep forgetting the quality, and how this guy plays is actually, he's just amazing. He's the best English talent in the country. And that's not me being reactionary. I've always thought this. Always. But you got to trust Pep with young players. And this is what happens. Foden is just sensational. And Man City beat Newcastle then. Newcastle were in a good shape for him there, but then one pass, they unlocked Newcastle, and that's what Man City are there for, to unlock low blocks. They've got the technical players to do so. And Newcastle didn't really do anything after that. They didn't really offer anything, but I think Eddie Howe will be disappointed, and I think they'll take that on the chin. Who have they got next? They've got Liverpool next, and it's at home. It'll be a tough game, but I reckon they could get something at home, and they'll probably want a different result after the shit show that happened at St James's Park last time, where Nick Pope came out and handballed it. Aston Villa 4, Everton 0. Now, I watched this game at the Bat and Ball in Westfield before the West Ham game. And, listen, Everton, man, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Sean Dyche was playing James Garner at right wing again. It's not good enough. When Calvert-Lewin came off, Dan Juma was their lone striker. And then Mopai came on. The football is bad. The football is awful. And Sean Dyche is a manager that you would get after you sack your manager when you're down there. But this is what happens every time. Everton can't buy players properly. Or they just don't buy players properly. They then sack their manager. They then go hire a new manager and survive relegation because of more of a momentum thing rather than an actual quality thing. And I predicted Everton way too high. But maybe they are in another relegation battle. But I don't know. Aston Villa were amazing. They were clinical. Diaby probably deserved the goal at least. Leon Bailey was sensational. Him and Diaby are down the same side. It's just ridiculous. John McGinn was incredible. Late arriving into the box and all that. Probably wasn't Ollie Watkins' best game, but I don't think Aston Villa will care about that. And Pau Torres filling in for Tyrone Mings, obviously. But Aston Villa did their job. They did their job 4-0. They've got Hibernian in the week to confirm their Conference League group stage place. That's not on TV for some reason, but I'll try and find a way to watch that. But listen, Aston Villa are going to have a really good season, and Everton are not. Crystal Palace, Arsenal. I'll skip West Ham, Chelsea, because if you want to know my thoughts on West Ham, Chelsea, go and check out the aftermath and go and check out my match reaction. Obviously, I'm a West Ham fan. This is the West Ham Fans Premier League Roundup. We talk about all the other teams apart from the West Ham game. So we're not going to talk about Chelsea because this video's been 25 minutes. Crystal Palace, Arsenal. Probably one of the worst games of the week that I've watched. But Arsenal, they deserved their goal in the end because they won the penalty. It was a blatant penalty, and I think I get Roy Hodgson's complaint about the guy getting blocked off, but nah, man, it's not a clear and obvious error. I get like, listen, you just got to be smart. It was just naive to even let that happen. It was so obvious that Martinelli wasn't even stepping back to run up on a free kick, so he was going to pass short. So I don't see why none of the Crystal Palace players have clocked it. So that's their own fault. And the Tomiyasu second yellow was ridiculous. He barely pulled his shirt. The first yellow was justified because it was time wasting. But the second yellow, the ref went more of reaction of the player rather than actually seeing it. And because VAR can't review a fucking second yellow card, which is stupid, then they got a player sent off. And Arsenal are really good when they go down to 10 men because Arteta always goes to the 5-3-1 formation, and they always actually like just grind it out. They've done it at Wolves away a couple of years ago. They did it at Anfield in the cup a couple of years ago. And listen, Arsenal will be happy with the result. They probably won't be happy with the performance. They probably have to perform better. And Declan Rice was probably the best player on the pitch, and obviously you know who was the worst. It was Kai Havertz, and Kai Havertz was horrible. But Odsonne Edouard versus Eddie Nketiah, who's going to miss more goals? Nketiah at least won the penalty. Odsonne Edouard had a free header, and it went wide. He was like right in line with the goal. It went wide. He had a free header. Palace need a striker because Mateta and Edouard is your strikers. It's not going to cut it. But Arsenal, Nketiah should have scored a couple of times. I don't think he played well. I know people say he did not play well. He's not good enough for Arsenal. Like, another player that's not good enough for their club. He's not good enough. Sign a proper striker if you want to win the league when Jesus is gone. Don't play Havertz up there. Don't play Nketiah up there. Nketiah is way better than Havertz, but doesn't mean he's good. Not good enough for Arsenal anyway. But that's just my opinion. That is the end of the video, guys. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to. Social medias are in the description if you want to follow me. And an email for the inquiries. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.